All right, well, the presidential election is entering its final 100 days, and it's already going down in the history books. We told you yesterday about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump spending a lot of time in battleground states, doing bus tours across Ohio and Pennsylvania. Well, Hillary Clinton is doing more of a traditional campaign. We know that, doing a lot of poll testing and working on her ground game, running television ads and things like that. Donald Trump, on the other hand, is doing a lot of rallies, big rallies, and doing a lot of tweeting. He says that this is a winning strategy. It worked in the primary. It'll work in the general election, and he's punching at Hillary Clinton here. Listen.
She's a very dishonest person. I have one of the great temperaments. I have a winning temperament. She has a bad temperament. She's weak. I've had a flawless campaign. You'll be writing books about this campaign.
So he says this campaign will go down. You're going to be writing history books. He said, I've had a flawless campaign. You'll be writing books about this campaign. Flawless.
So if I were Paul Manafort and running the campaign, I would sit Trump down and I would have this conversation. I say, do you want to be president? You say you do, but do you really? Do you really mean it? I can make you president. Do one thing. Don't talk about yourself. It's not about you. That's the sign I would post there. I would say it's about the middle class of America, whom the people in power have contempt for, despise, hate.
Good luck
despise.
with that.
It's a winning
Good luck.
message.
You're going to talk about them and how you're going to make their lives better. It's not about you. And any moment you talk about process or yourself or respond to taunts from your opponents is a moment where you are losing. Talk about voters and you will win, and that's true.
But good luck with that when he puts his names on all of his buildings. I mean, not talking about yourself.
I'm not judging any of that. That's fine. That's business. This is a campaign. Campaigns are determined by voters. If they think that you care about them, and trust me, the people in power do not care about them at all. Right. They hate them. Nancy Pelosi said that the other day. They're stupid. She basically said that. Everyone knows that the Democratic Party hates the middle class. If Trump is their champion, he wins.
So what has been his secret here on social media? Because the thing that he's literally double the amount of followers than Hillary Clinton. He puts out this attack, and then he follows it up with social media. We had Ben Kaplan on the show earlier to talk about this secret sauce. Listen.
He's constantly triggering this idea of he's the sort of tough persona, right? He's the authentic fighter. So even when you see an individual tweet or a comment have a negative backlash a little bit, sometimes the net effect can actually be stronger positively because it actually reinforces his persona. One of the big things you need for anything to go viral, even like a dog or cat video, is it has to be authentic. It has to be something real. So because he's plain spoken, that gives him a big edge. What Hillary needs to do is activate more emotions to cause that viral spread.
So who's winning at this point? Larry Sabato has studied American politics for decades. He's one of the most famous analysts of it. He's, of course, from UVA, and he joins us now. So the question, Larry, is at this point, 100 days out in previous campaigns that you've covered, what were the signs that allowed people to figure out who was going to win? In other words, looking at the polls today and looking back at previous campaigns, where do you think we are?
Well, you can't look at the polls today. We're waiting to find out how big Hillary Clinton's bounce is. We know that Trump got a bounce. We've got to see whether Clinton got one, and if so, how big it is. Then you compare the bounces. You wait 2 weeks for the bounces to settle, and you finally get into the general election pattern. By the way, I do have some news for you. It's good for us and horrible for the public. I just realized this last week. This is the longest general election campaign in modern history, really since 1960. In 1960, the parties both held their conventions in July. That's the last time we haven't had at least one convention in August. And remember, that's when the general election campaign begins, when the second convention ends. So this is an extraordinarily long general election campaign. It's got an extra 5 weeks in it for more attacks and more negative ads and more for us to talk about. And I know the public is thrilled on a Sunday morning to hear that.
Yeah, and both candidates have said the gloves are off. Trump, a couple of days ago, said no more Mr. Nice Guy. He's been so nice thus far.
Well, you mentioned 1960. We're showing the video there, and I want to get your take on that because that was the first time where we didn't have an incumbent president. In this time, though, Hillary Clinton sort of seems to be playing on the heels of the Obama administration almost as an incumbent. So where do you see differences there, 1960 and now?
Yeah, well, not only is she trying to be the third term of Obama, in a sense, whether she wants it or not, she's also going to be, if she's elected, the third term of Bill Clinton. So she has a double incumbency burden here. It's the first time that's ever happened in American history, where one candidate is representing two 8-year administrations. So that gives Trump more material to use to attack. It also gives her certain advantages as well.
All right, next up, Bush versus Gore.
But, oh, we've already jumped to 2000. Okay, well, in 2000, look, I want to mention one thing about 1960. 1960 was close the whole time. It was highly competitive. Well, so was 2000. 2000 was close and competitive through the summer, the general election. Gore had a surge in the last month or so. That's what enabled him to win the popular vote, but not the electoral vote. These elections are all different. They revolve around different fundamentals and different schedules. So let's not overdo the comparisons, but at the same time, we may be having the very same thing in that respect this year.
So 2008, Obama versus McCain. I mean, with this like 100-day window, it was a strange time. The economy was about to take a nosedive. Remember, McCain like suspends his campaign, went through a really crazy time. Do you see any similarities to that time?
Well, I'll tell you one similarity. In the summer, it was tied. In fact, McCain was even at one point a couple of points up over Obama. What changed it all? The fundamentals. George W. Bush became very unpopular because both of the Iraq War and the economic collapse in September that nobody saw coming in the summer. What are we not seeing now that will happen in September or October that might scramble the fundamentals? Well, I certainly don't know, and none of you do either. That's why we watch every day.
No, that's right. But we should be aware of the fact that this could be a different country by November. That's really smart. Only perspective gives you that vantage. Thanks a lot, Larry Sabato.